Your main man, Underwood, returns to speak about the absolute best monsters there are in any role-playing game. And these are monsters that can go across the board to every sort of role-playing game there is. Not just fantasy, not just horror, not just science fiction. Any kind of role-playing game you want to have, there's a place for this kind of monster. They are devils. Devils are the vast majority of game masters I've seen use devils. I have seen two. Off the top of my head, I can only think of two game masters that I have seen use devils well in a game. Devils should be played this way. They win. They always win. Might not look like they're going to win for a while, but they always win. They're not ravaging idiot insanities. They are not demons. They are calm, collected, controlled, prideful, and ultimately better than you. Ultimately better than you. That's something that should be brought across. They're not going to bargain from a position of weakness, and if it appears they are, they probably have even a greater upper hand on you than you thought, because they have manipulated and contrived a situation, circumstance to bring forth. Now, a devil does not always have to be played in a Faustian pact sort of way. It does not always have to be after your soul. There could be so many other things to go after. And a devil, actually, if he wants your soul, he may more align, you do this, 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 and this. Instead of saying, well, we want your soul, he's going to lead you onto a road of damnation to get your soul, to pick it up. Never say, oh, you have to give your soul. No, he just wants to taint your soul with sin. A devil looks at you and sees the cracks. Imagine yourself like you are a sidewalk, and there's just a little crack. It's a tiny, small crack running across it from the root, busting from below the pavement, from below the concrete. From that tiny little crack, just like a seed of grass, the devil will insidiously slip inside you and taint your soul. He will see your sin. He will see your weakness. He will see the ways in. It may be through lust or greed or pride, or desire to have control, to have possessions, to have something as noble and beautiful as love. All of these things can be your downfall. The devil should never charge blindly across the battlefield to attack you. That is not what devils are. That's not what they do. That's not their role. That they're not needed for that. There's loads of things that can do that. Devils set up deals. They should speak to you calmly. They should offer you things, and then you should be free to reject them. And then circumstances should likely conspire, perhaps most naturally, to put you into a position where you may wish to reconsider. Devils work very poorly in a game with bad players. If your players just try to kill everything and refuse to sell, refuse to put over the terror, refuse to put over the awe, refuse to put over the grandeur of a devil, and reduce things down to stat blocks, devils are not for your game. Don't use them, don't run them. All you're going to do is eventually whore the monsters out and make them lose their special edge. They are special monsters, and the fact that they can go across nearly any sort of game makes them wonderful. A devil can be used in a Vampire the Masquerade game. The same exact devil character could be thrown into a Pathfinder game. It doesn't matter, because they are about temptation, they are about seduction, they are about torture, they are about extracting your soul from you, they are about having their plans, and their plans can span all of creation, from the time where things began in darkness to the time where things end in darkness. The devil could live that long, and imagine something that long. Is it just going to sit there and let the player characters bash it with their +5 swords? Of course it isn't. Of course it's not going to play itself out like that. I have never, outside of maybe an imp, ever had anyone ever kill a devil in one of my games. Ever. From the time I started running role-playing games when I was 10, no one has ever killed a devil in one of my games, ever. No one, I could probably make the video, a week before I die, and it'll be the same thing. They're just not monsters that are designed for fighting. They should not be fighting with you. They shouldn't be doing that, because it's not their place. I know in Dungeons and Dragons, they have some things like we're playing escape where devils are like fighting. I don't like that idea. Now I played in Matthew and he had a play escape game and he had devils like that, and that part I didn't like. But he overall the real high end devils and stuff, he did a great job with, because they fucked us. We'd come in there and one would fuck us and then another would fuck us, and from the way that one fucked us and the other one was fucking us too. That's just how devils operate. Just like we're like, yeah, we did everything right, and Of course, I ended up far less fucked because I kind of threw Brady into the bus. That was with my character's custom, but you're going to get fucked by a devil. That's what you need to understand and experience. And you need to remember when you're playing a role-playing game, going under, doing the job, putting something else over, selling for it, that can be a wonderful reward in its own right. That can be very much fun too. Don't go and play with player armor. Oh, there's no one anything to get my precious character. Oh, I have to protect him with the saving throws. And oh, God. Go with it. Allow the sea of creativity and the ocean of imagination to engulf you. Allow that deluge to pour down. Sell. Have that energy. Have that high level where you're putting the Game Master stuff over. Man, you're going to make him have a lot more fun. And when he's having more fun, you are going to have a better time. You're going to elevate your style. Relax. Release. Trust. Enjoy. You do those things when you're playing with devils, when you're be afraid of them if they reveal themselves. This is something that is beyond your ability to deal with. That is the easiest way to encapsulate what a devil is. Something beyond your ability to deal with. I don't care if you're fucking Batman. Okay, you're gonna go under to the devil. Because guess what? He's 20,000 years old. Maybe he's older. Maybe he's older beyond the scope of even time to measure. Imagine something like that existed from something before there was time. Something so elder, so horrible, so impossible. And your character is going to what? Kill it? Of course he's not. Of course he's not. The creature would never allow a situation like that to even come into play unless it fostered its own goals and perhaps appears dead at the absolute best for your gratification. But ultimately, you're going to be led into a bad place. But again, remember, a devil might want something else generally from you. It doesn't want to get his hands dirty. It doesn't want to bother with the small stuff. Perhaps your character can be utilized in that collection. Maybe just made a deal with someone else. And when they die, it gets their soul. Well, it kind of wants the soul now for whatever reasons. And you can go into that. You need to understand that too. The devil is a creature of tremendous pride. That's the number one role-playing point you need to put together. It thinks it's better than you, better than everyone, and its plans are the best. It thinks it's better than the other devils. And it wants more for itself. It wants to elevate itself to a higher station. And everyone else around it does too. It's like a grand, powerful meritocracy. There are no candidates of less quality. There's no nepotism or other systems of favoritism put into play in an infernal hierarchy. You have to earn it. And they want to prove to each other and to themselves that they are better. They are greedy for that power, that control, that strength, particularly depending on how much you define and how much you utilize your infernal hierarchy. You can really produce some great grand stories and reasons why the devil wants to do something more than just entice you to give it your soul. It may wish you to take care of pawns or minions of another devil, to exterminate their cult. A devil may not ever appear to you as a devil. And you might think it's some lofty celestial creature, some old wizard, some doddering drunken fool, a lich. It doesn't matter. Whatever guise is going to put it over well, that's where the devil will appear. And a devil should always have carte blanche to change shapes around. Another problem I have with the Dungeons & Dragons devils is there's so many of them. It's just exhausting and ridiculous. You need like 3. Something like imp-like, that's small and apparently weak, that's a servitor, a minion, a message deliverer. Then you need a shot caller, a seducer, a lawyer type, a silver tongue, the thing that shows up at the crossroads at midnight and pins the deal with you. And then you need something for torture. If you have those 3 archetypes, and hell, they can all be one creature. They can all be exactly what a creature. Again, allow it to change forms, and what it appears to you as may be a form that's pleasant, or maybe trying to elicit a certain degree of intimidation, perhaps not the whole yard. What a devil really appears as should be so unbelievably horrifying that it only elicits animal reactions from you. You have to get away from it. You have no choice. It's beyond terrifying. It's not a threat. It's not a goblin or a hobgoblin or another wizard or a vampire or something like that that's of flesh and blood and can be dealt with. It is something composed of some odd alien substance, something that we could only best attempt to describe as energy or light, but probably hails something completely different. They are aliens from another dimension. They are not simply extraterrestrial. They are extraplanar. They exist in a world that does not apply the same degree of physics as the world you exist in does. Think about that for a minute, and then think about that from creatures that are old beyond a measure. They shouldn't be a flesh and blood race. They are spiritual things, perhaps malignant, but perhaps not all the way. And if you add a bit of romance, if you add a bit of intrigue, if you add a bit of perhaps they have somehow been wrong, perhaps they have somehow made a sacrifice for a perceived greater good, their greater good. They shouldn't be out there, oh, we're the bad guys. No, no, no. Their perspective should be we are good. And perhaps they're bitter. Perhaps they have been supplanted, wronged, been forced to take a drastic action. But what is the reason that they have taken that action? And when you reflect upon that, when you create that reason, and that reason can be whatever you like. But once you have that reason, you really have some role-playing fodder to come along with, and you can hint. Don't just have the devil just explain everything, but give little tiny hints where the clever player can begin to assemble those ideas, can begin to put it together, can begin to create an idea that often will have a bit of incorrect information in it to make it even more interesting. When you've wowed them, when you bowl them over with the devil, they're going to be going, oh, I have to figure out more, I have to find out more. I love playing devils. They are one of my absolute favorite kind of monsters. I don't care if I'm running Real World, World of Darkness, or some other kind of real world game, probably horror. I'm going to have devils in it. I'm going to have devils if I'm running comic book style game. I'm going to have devils if I'm running fantasy games. It doesn't matter. I love to play devils. My players love to see devils from me. And I hit them differently. You know, I hit one different to another. I hit infernal cults, and remember to think about those cults that have, what are their reasons? You know, what little broken bit inside them makes them want to be infernalist? Or are they so desperate for power? Are they so angry and need revenge? Or they've so violently turned against the things of light, the gods, and so other for things that have not come for their prayers? Why have they turned there? And begin to examine the psychology of the cults. Because when you're dealing with devils, that may well be the first step in, is examining the cult. A devil can be a tremendously interesting benefactor to players. You could run a campaign for 10 years where the benefactor is a devil. Perhaps 10 different characters are the exact same devil. Again, just give them carte blanche to shape change completely. It looks different, appears to them in different ways, creates scenarios. When you have a shape changer, make them more than one character. Make them play the odds against the party. They might show up as a rough, powerful, barbaric adventurer, because they can act, they can lie. Particularly a devil, any kind of shapeshifter is going to be adept at putting that gimmick over, that facade, lying. But a devil, so much more so than perhaps any other, being able to lie. They're going to be able to set the situation up how they want it and get the player just where they want them. So whatever bit of fiction they've created could come to the forefront. In fact, they may have 8 personas that they have appeared as, and set some of them up as antagonistic towards the players to drive the players directly towards another persona in their web. Now, player characters are very powerful, very interesting, very pious movers and shakers. Once you start getting some levels, once you start getting extra dots, once you start getting more powers, depending on what kind of game you're playing, these are special, important people. That's nearly the definition of a player character, someone who is extraordinary, or at least approaching extraordinary in the particular game setting. So, of course, after a while, after that fame, which, you know, could be that quite double-edged sword, they're going to elicit attention. They're going to attract attention of other individuals that wish to put them and position them as pawns. Because after all, there shouldn't be, how many 8th level characters are running around your campaign? Well, there shouldn't be very many. They shouldn't be like, you know, there's an 8th level bartender here, and there's the 8th level stable boy. I mean, it gets ridiculous. It should be mostly just 1st level jobbers. And then an 8th level character should have some swagger, should have some potency, and should have some stories to back that up. There should be some importance there. And the higher you get above, say, 8th level or whatever, on a level system, or, you know, once you've racked up, I don't know, like maybe 50 experience points in a vampire game, something like that, you're beginning to get a little bit more. There should be things that happen to give you some more status, and that status may well attract the attention of a devil and put you directly into some sort of diabolical chess game, some sort of use for them. Remember, when you're playing a devil, they're smarter than your player characters. They're smarter than you as the game master. They're better. And even if it looks like they're going to lose, ultimately, they should win. The player should not be able to outsmart them. How do you outsmart something that's 30,000 years old? How do you outsmart those sort of things? It could come off as completely trite, completely ridiculous, and pathetic when you actually just get over on them. It's like, come on now, dude, really? One of the worst games I ever played in. A game master tried to run a devil and make a deal with me, and I just completely destroyed him. I didn't even want to, but I was like, okay, we're setting this up, and then at the end of it, I was like, I didn't even realize how bad it screwed the devil over, because the game master just couldn't keep up with me. He couldn't, outdeal me. Of course, I'm deep in the scene. I'm really enjoying it, so I'm trying to. The character is trying to deal, and the character had skills to deal up to the level where I'm dealing with him. But the guy playing the devil, there was no skill there. Campaign done. Had other problems besides that, of course. But but we were playing Planescape with a gentleman. We're just patter, and just patter does not consort with outsiders, and that being the case, even when it looked like I'd gone over on him, boom, 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 several game sessions later, he comes back and slips out that I'd gone under. He'd gone over on me, and I was so happy to have done that job, because if you just go over on it, it's like, oh, I could just why don't you just make me a god? If I could go over on these guys, that's kind of the stepping stone. A devil is here. Your god is here. Your player character is way off the camera, so. Don't just draw them. Don't ever make a devil number of stats. If you have to give them something, Blasphemous is terrible to fight and kill. Demons. Things like that. Gibbering madness. Cthulhuoid sort of aspects. Even then, not a huge fan of combating those things. But I've used them in games, and I've used them very successfully as very powerful, very potent enemies. But devils, I'm not even sure if anyone's ever killed an imp in my game. No one I could ever think of has ever, since I'm 10, ever killed a devil in any of my games. And I don't think anyone ever will. I don't put them in the position for that. It might help my players, in terms of like looking at it in a metagame standpoint. They see a devil, they're not like, oh, I gotta grab my dice. They're like, all right, I gotta get my fucking role playing on. Like, if for some reason that they know, they go, ooh. And they usually don't know. They figured out maybe way down into to the encounter, like, oh god, there's something so much over me. And they role play it correctly. They shouldn't be like, oh yeah, that's just a devil there. Fuck him. He's got 10 hit dice. And I was like, this is going to get real bad. I better show respect. I better, really be on my game. And it's a great role-playing challenge for a game master to put those devils in. And remember, your challenge ultimately is to put the devils over. But, again, they don't have to fuck the player characters in a traditional sense. They don't have to, make it less fun for the game. In fact, you should be able to do both and increase the fun, not hold the players down and ruin the game for them and be an antagonistic style of game master, but contrive those events in a fashion where it's going to actually make the game more fun. Where maybe they're now enthralled to them, but boom, 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 you're getting all kinds of action out of it. You're getting adventure, you're getting useful things to a player that are facilitating the fun. Or, you're an unwilling dupe. It may be at the very end of the campaign where you figure out, oh god, I've been duped the whole time. Those actions weren't even mine. Maybe the devil had charmed them in some fashion. They didn't even realize. The things he's letting them go from their free will, but they're going to that position. So who's to say it wasn't the devil that had charmed them? That's what you could really get in great with the mind games. Like, oh, you did all that, but did you? Was it your choice? And then again, because then their choice had never been taken away. But at the same time, they got to sit there and think, oh, what was it? How was it? In fact, was the character actually manipulated to some degree? And that can really be very interesting. The players kind of sit there and, if you give the mind fuck, can really be into that. But that's what I'm going to say about devils. Think about it. Think about using them. If you've had horrible stories of devils just doing the JOB left or right, put that in the comments. If you have particular other views on how to play devils and so forth, feel free to put that down as well.